Imagine lying under a freezing bridge, clutching your empty stomach, convinced the world had forgotten you, when headlights stopped inches away. And out stepped the one person you never expected to see. Your millionaire sister. But the words she whispered that night? They didn't just change my life. They rewrote everything I thought I knew about family, betrayal, and truth. The rain had been relentless that night, dripping from the bridge above like a cruel metronome counting down my misery. My thin blanket was soaked through, my shoes had holes, and my pride, once the strongest thing about me, was buried beneath the mud I slept on. I hadn't eaten properly in days. I remember pressing my hand against my stomach, trying to muffle its growls, and thinking, so this is it. This is how forgotten people fade away. But then, headlights cut through the darkness. A sleek black car rolled to a stop, tires hissing on the wet asphalt. I flinched, half expecting police to order me away, like they had countless times before. Instead, the car door opened, and high heels clicked against the ground. At first, I thought it was a hallucination. Out of the shadows stepped a woman dressed in tailored elegance. Long coat, leather gloves, hair pinned like she just walked off a magazine cover. My jaw dropped. Because even though years had passed, I knew that face instantly. My sister. Daniel. Her voice trembled. Is that really you? I wanted to sink into the mud. The last time I saw her, she was just starting her career, while I was already spiraling. We'd fought. Ugly words were exchanged. She left for the city, chasing her dreams, while I stayed behind, only to watch mine collapse. And now here she was, glowing, wealthy, unrecognizable in her success. I stammered. What are you doing here? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she took off her coat and draped it over me without hesitation, as though we hadn't been estranged for years. The warmth shocked me more than the expensive fabric. Come with me, she said softly. Please. I need to talk to you. Tonight. The moment I stepped into her luxury car, I felt like I had been transported to another world. The leather seats smelled faintly of cedar and money, the kind of scent you'd expect in five-star hotels, not in the life of a man who had been sleeping under bridges. I sat stiffly, clutching the edges of the seat as though I didn't belong, because I didn't. The reflection staring back at me in the tinted window was haunting. A gaunt face, hollow eyes, and a beard too wild to recognize. Beside me sat my sister, polished and radiant, every inch of her screaming success. The silence between us was suffocating, broken only by the hum of the engine as the city blurred past. My throat tightened. I wanted to ask 100 questions, but the words tangled with pride and shame. Then she spoke, her voice barely audible over the rain. Daniel. I've been looking for you. I scoffed, bitterness rising like bile. Looking for me? For years I've been invisible. And now suddenly you find me? Her grip tightened on the steering wheel. I noticed her knuckles whitening. You don't understand. I didn't come here by accident. Tonight was deliberate. I couldn't wait anymore. Something in her tone unnerved me. It wasn't just guilt, it was urgency. Wait for what? I demanded, my voice shaking between anger and desperation. She glanced at me, eyes shimmering. To tell you the truth. The truth I've hidden for more than 10 years. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. I turned toward her fully, my chest tightening. Truth about what? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she pressed her foot harder on the gas, weaving through traffic like someone running out of time. I could see beads of sweat forming along her hairline, though her expression was perfectly composed. Too composed. Finally she whispered, about why I left, about why our family fell apart, about why you ended up under that bridge. My fists clenched. Don't put that on me. I destroyed my life with my own mistakes. Her eyes flicked to mine, burning with intensity. No. Daniel. You think you destroyed your life, but the truth is, someone else set you up to fail. Her words sliced through me. What are you talking about? You'll understand soon, she said, her voice trembling. But you have to trust me. Tonight, I'll give you answers you never thought you'd hear. By the time the car pulled up to a glittering glass tower, my heart was pounding louder than the rain. This wasn't just any building. It was her home, a penthouse that stretched into the clouds. I followed her inside, ashamed as strangers in the lobby stared at me with disgust, as if I were some stray she dragged in. But she held her chin high and guided me through, refusing to let go of my arm. When we reached her apartment, the door clicked shut behind us. The silence was heavier than the city outside. She motioned for me to sit, slid a plate of food toward me, and waited until I had eaten enough to breathe normally again. And then she leaned forward, eyes locking onto mine, her voice a whisper sharp as glass. Daniel, everything you believe about Mom, Dad, and the night I left, it's all a lie. And the person who destroyed your life was someone you never suspected. Her words didn't just shock me, they shattered something inside me. Someone else set you up to fail. I sat frozen, staring at my sister as if she'd just confessed to murder. What do you mean? I asked, voice hoarse. She took a deep breath, folding her hands together on the table like she was about to deliver a verdict. Daniel, you've spent years believing you ruined your own life, that your choices dragged you under. But the truth is, those choices weren't really yours. They were manipulated. I frowned, shaking my head. Manipulated? That doesn't make sense. I was the one who dropped out, who gambled, who... Her voice cut sharply across mine. Who lost your job the day after that anonymous complaint was filed against you? Who got rejected from every bank loan after false debt was reported under your name? Who was abandoned when Mom and Dad turned their backs without even asking you for your side? You think that was coincidence? I blinked, stunned. It wasn't coincidence? Then what? She leaned closer, lowering her voice like the walls might be listening. Daniel. It was orchestrated. By someone inside our family. My stomach turned cold. I stared at her in disbelief. You're saying, one of them did this to me? Mom. Dad. She hesitated, her jaw tightening. Not exactly. But they knew. And they let it happen. I slammed my hand against the table, the sound echoing through her penthouse. Why would they do that? Why would our own parents throw me to the wolves? Her eyes glistened. Because you were never the one they were protecting. I was. The room seemed to tilt. I sat back, breath shallow, as the weight of her words crushed me. Protecting her? From what? She rose from her seat and walked toward the window, gazing out at the skyline. Her reflection in the glass looked fragile, broken under the glittering lights. When I left home all those years ago, it wasn't because I wanted to chase money. It was because I found out the truth. Dad was drowning in illegal deals, debts tied to people you don't want to know. He needed a scapegoat. Someone to pin the failures on. And he chose you. My throat went dry. Me? But why me? I didn't do anything. Her voice cracked. Because you were the dreamer. The vulnerable one. He knew you'd take the blame. He knew he could spin the story. Say you ruined everything with bad habits, that you were reckless. And everyone believed it. Even me, at first. I stared at her, fury and heartbreak tangling inside me. So all those years I spent hating myself, sleeping under bridges, begging for scraps. It was all because Dad, our father, needed a cover story? She turned, tears running freely now. Yes. And I can't stay silent anymore, Daniel. Because the people who destroyed you are still watching. And if we don't act now, they'll destroy me too. The silence after her words felt like a thunderstorm inside my chest. My father, our father, hadn't just failed me. He had used me. Sacrificed me like a pawn on some invisible chessboard. I leaned forward, my voice raw. You can't just say something like that and leave it hanging. If Dad set me up, if he ruined my life to cover his, what exactly was he hiding? What kind of deals? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she poured herself a glass of water, her hands trembling as she lifted it to her lips. She looked like someone about to step into traffic. Finally, she set the glass down, exhaled and whispered, Daniel, our family was never what you thought it was. The business Dad claimed was built on hard work. The real estate, the investments, it was all dirty. He was laundering money. Gambling with dangerous people. And when the debt started to spiral, he needed a fall guy. I felt the blood drain from my face. And that fall guy was me. She nodded, her eyes heavy with guilt. He used your name to sign fake debts. He leaked stories about your reckless lifestyle. He even paid off people to reject your job applications. Every step you thought was your failure. Was him pushing you down further? I slammed my fist into the table, the sound rattling the glass. Rage coursed through me like fire. All those years. All that pain. Every night under that bridge thinking I deserved it. And it was never me. It was him. My sister flinched at my outburst but didn't back away. I left because I found out. He thought I'd keep quiet, that I'd enjoy the money and stay blind. But I couldn't. I couldn't look at you being destroyed while he pretended to be the perfect father. I glared at her. But you did leave. You disappeared. You let me rot while you built this. I gestured at her glittering penthouse, the skyline beyond. Why didn't you come for me sooner? Her face twisted with pain. Because I was trapped too. Daniel, don't you understand? The money that built this place, it isn't clean. It came with strings attached. I thought if I stayed close, if I kept quiet, I could protect you from a distance. But the deeper I got, the more I realized. There's no escaping unless I burn the whole thing down. I stared at her, stunned. Burn it down? You mean? She stepped closer, her eyes fierce now. I've been gathering evidence. Records, accounts, names. Enough to bring him, and everyone he's tied to, crashing down. But I can't do it alone. And the reason I came for you tonight. She reached out and grabbed my hand, her grip urgent, desperate. I need you, Daniel. I need your help. Because once this starts, there's no turning back. Her words hit me like lightning. After years of being treated like nothing, like trash, suddenly I wasn't just her broken brother anymore. I was her only ally. But the question clawed at my chest. Could I trust her? Or was this just another setup waiting to destroy me? Her grip on my hand was tight, her eyes blazing with urgency. Evidence. Burn it down. No turning back. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity. I was a man who slept under bridges, a ghost society had forgotten, and now my sister was asking me to help her bring down our father's empire. Why me? I demanded, pulling back. You have money, lawyers, connections. I have nothing. She shook her head fiercely. Exactly. You have nothing he can use against you. That makes you the only one I can trust. Everyone else is bought. Daniel. Everyone. Her words burned. Nothing. Trust. Two sides of the same coin. I stood, pacing like a caged animal. Do you understand what you're saying? Dad's not just a crooked businessman. If he's tied to dangerous people. She cut me off, her voice trembling. He is. And they already know I've been digging. Last week, I found a tracker in my car. She pulled the small device from a drawer, setting it on the table. The sight of it made my skin crawl. I wasn't forgotten. I was watched. Why bring me here? I whispered. Because if I didn't, someone else would have found you first, she said. And trust me, they wouldn't have been so kind. The room felt smaller, heavier. She slid a flash drive across the table, its silver glint cutting through the tension. On this is everything. Fake accounts, names, transfers. Enough to destroy him. But I can't survive this alone. I need you. Her voice broke. Please, Daniel. I stared at the drive, torn between rage, fear, and a strange flicker of hope. Then, 3 sharp knocks rattled the door. Her face went pale. They're here. The knock wasn't polite. It was a demand. Bang, bang, bang. My sister froze, her face pale. She whispered, "Stay quiet." Another knock, harder this time. A deep voice called through the door. "Miss Carter. Open up. Now." She motioned me to hide. I crouched behind the counter as she cracked the door, the chain latch still on. A tall man in a dark suit leaned close. His voice smooth but menacing. "Your father's worried. He thinks you've been holding things you shouldn't." "I don't know what you're talking about," she replied, her tone steady but strained. The man smirked. "Don't play dumb. Files. Accounts. Transfers. We know." He shoved hard, the chain rattling. My sister slammed the door shut, locking it again. "Daniel, move," she hissed. She yanked open a drawer, pulling out a small black case. Inside, cash, a burner phone, and a silver flash drive. She shoved the drive into my hand. "This is everything. If they get me, you run. Promise me." My fingers clenched around it. The weight felt heavier than gold. The pounding grew violent. And then, crash. The door burst open, splinters flying. Two men stormed in, suits sharp, eyes colder than steel. One spotted me immediately and sneered. "Well, well. The lost brother. Didn't think we'd see you again." I froze, but my sister stepped in front of me like a shield. Her voice was sharp, defiant. "Touch him and you'll regret it." The second man laughed darkly. "No, darling. The only regret you'll have is not opening the door sooner." The room erupted in chaos the moment the men stormed inside. My sister stood in front of me like a shield, but I could see the tremor in her hands. The silver flash drive in my pocket felt like it was burning through my clothes, every beat of my heart screaming, "This is it. This is what they came for." One of the men stepped forward, his smile cold and predatory. "Hand it over. Nah. And maybe you both walk out of this." My sister didn't move. "You'll get nothing." His smirk faded. In an instant, he lunged, grabbing her wrist. She fought back, slapping his arm away, but the second man circled toward me. "Check his pockets," he barked. I backed away, adrenaline surging. 4 years, I'd been broken, passive, convinced I was worthless. But tonight, with that flash drive in my hand, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: purpose. As the man reached for me, I grabbed the nearest object I could find, a heavy glass vase from the counter, and smashed it against his shoulder. He staggered back with a curse. The other man released my sister and turned on me, fury blazing in his eyes. "Run, Daniel!" she shouted. I bolted toward the door, the flash drive clutched tight. My chest burned, my legs pumping as I tore down the hallway. Behind me, shouts and footsteps thundered like war drums. The elevator was too slow. I sprinted for the stairs, flying down flight after flight, the air thick with fear and determination. By the time I hit the lobby, my lungs were on fire. I burst into the rainy street, headlights blinding me. And then, out of nowhere, my sister's voice. "Daniel! Over here!" She had escaped too, her coat soaked, her eyes wild. A cab screeched to a stop, and we dove inside. She slammed the door, yelling at the driver, "Go! Now!" The cab sped off into the night, leaving the men shouting in the rain. For a long moment, we sat in silence, both gasping for breath. Finally she turned to me, her face pale but determined. "We don't have much time. That flash drive, it's the end of him. Of Dad. Of all of them. But only if we use it right." I stared at her, the city lights flickering across her face. For the first time in years, I saw not just my sister the millionaire, but my sister the fighter, the only person who had come back for me when the world forgot. And I realized something. I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't just a man under a bridge. I was the key to ending the nightmare our family had built. I slid the flash drive deeper into my pocket and whispered, "Then let's finish this, together." The cab roared into the night, carrying us toward an uncertain future, one where the truth would finally be unleashed. But one thing was certain: the secret she revealed that night didn't just change everything. It gave me back my life.